Let's move on, Brian. Where in the world are you now?
Las Vegas, Nevada, where
look at that.
a player or two might come during their All-Star break if they don't go to Atlanta. You know, the strange thing about this summer, Rachel, is there's going to be two things happening at the exact same time, which is preparation for the Olympics and the NBA Finals. And so it's already becoming an issue because the Tokyo Olympics look like they're going to happen. And how do you do both if you're USA Basketball? So USA Basketball is planning on creating a bubble. That's exactly, I'm sure everybody wants to hear, another bubble for not only members of Team USA, but also the teams from Australia, Spain, and maybe even Argentina. They're going to be represented by a bunch of NBA players as well. They want to have it here in Las Vegas where they can practice and play games against each other before safely, hopefully COVID-free and with vaccines is the idea, fly to Tokyo and compete in the Olympics. The crazy thing, guys, is that the Team USA's first game in the Olympics is scheduled for 3 days after a possible Game 7 of the NBA Finals. So Jerry Colangelo and USA Basketball want to be able to ask the Olympic Committee for them to change the rosters in the middle of the Olympics so that somebody who potentially could have played in the finals or the conference finals who gotten some rest can come over and join the team. Typically, it's a couple of weeks before you have to set your roster, but everything is different. I don't know if this is going to get approved, but that's their plan, and it's going to be based in the run-up here in Las Vegas.
Well, that's really interesting because if they could change the roster halfway through, and, you know, the qualifying games, the original round-robin games aren't as hard for Team USA to win, that would be interesting, Matt. Do you think it's realistic to expect NBA players, especially on Team USA, to participate in these Olympic Games? Talk about the dates there. I mean, it's crazy.
I think so. I mean, I think so. Although the schedule's compact, this is just, you know, we're in different times now, so we're in trial and error and trying to make things go on the fly. But if anything, you know, what I would want to see is really them kind of transition right to it. Because if they took a few weeks off or 3 or 4 weeks off after the finals and you kind of shut your body down, then you try to get your engine restarted, it might be a problem. So, I mean, I don't expect guys like LeBron, if he's going to play probably early in the games. But I think at some point when it starts getting more serious, he'll play. But like I said, they're doing something on the fly. This is the Olympics. This is what all the guys are waiting for, so I'm sure we'll have a stacked roster.
Will be very interesting, and especially also players who are not Americans, who are playing for their country is so much of a rite of passage of their basketball experience, what they're going to want to do as well. All right, let's move on, Brian. I feel like maybe you're in a place very dear and special to me. Is that possible?
Yes, I am. You've been to, I believe, our nation's capital once or twice, Rachel.
Yes.
I think you stood right here at the Lincoln Memorial, probably on a high school field trip or two.
Yep.
And last night, the team that calls Washington home, the Wizards, got one of the biggest wins of the season when they went down to Miami, playing a very healthy Miami Heat team. They didn't get in until 4 a.m. on their travel, had to get up for COVID testing like 4 or 5 hours later and stun the healthy Heat. And so 2 big wins in the last week for the Wizards has calmed down any rumblings around Bradley Beal. Let me just say that in talking to people in Beal's camp, in talking to executives out there, even though it looked really bad, and it still may again look bad when the Wizards struggle a little bit, there's never been any wavering that Bradley Beal was on the market. Now, whether or not executives believe that will stay that way through March 25th is a different question, but the Wizards are playing better, and Bradley Beal was never on the market if you listen to what everybody is saying.
All right, well, Matt, how much should we read into, watch this, all the smoke around Beal and the Wizards?
I mean, winning helps everything, but to be honest with you, they're 3-7 in their last 10 games. But the one thing I respect about Bradley Beal is regardless of what's going on, he's going to say and do the right thing on and off the court. Now, whether he's really on the trade market or not, I guess we won't know until that trade line comes and goes. But the one thing about Bradley Beal is he's a consummate pro. He's going to give his absolute most effort. And, he's someone you definitely want in your locker room.
Well, Brian, look, we always point out to fans and viewers watching this show, this isn't us picking at Bradley Beal. Is he going to stay or go? This is because you legitimately, Brian, talked to dozens of front office people who are asking you, in a lot of cases, how available is Beal? What's going on with Beal? We're talking about Beal. If the hubbub around Beal is simmering down, who is the next person that you hear front offices talking about?
Zach.
Well, Ben Simmons was offered for James Harden, so there's a question about whether if a star becomes available, whether he could be. And another guy that executives are watching out there because they're not sure of his future with the organization is Zach Lavine. Now, I would tell you that the Bulls, if they're going to trade a guy like Zach Lavine, who's having a career season, would want to trade him for someone like Bradley Beal. So I think it's not necessarily an either or. I think it would be if a player like Bradley Beal is available, that would get, Philly or Chicago interested. But if you're looking for players who possibly could be out there on the market, those are two names that have been mentioned with league executives.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.